learning IELTS, learning listening, learning speaking. No. How is IELTS helping you, the viewers, and of course me, the speaker?
My results are probably going to be on the screen right now. Let's hope it's above 8. So I'm aiming for 8.5.
We have, if I'm not mistaken, we have speaking, we have listening, we have reading, oh, and we also have writing. And one more question, /British accent or the American accent? Personally, I love the American one. Do you love the American accent?
In the first place, as it actually develops your academic level and academic understanding of the world and of the English language.
To be such a ravishing topic, such as IELTS English versus academic English. And I truly hope, I truly believe that most of our viewers were able to, get some more advice for their vocabulary, right?
So what I most certainly believe is that IELTS 100% helps you understand that you are good enough for the English-speaking society.
Ciao for now. Greetings, everyone. It is of the utmost delight for us to launch our very first episode of the IBRAT Project's podcasts that I, Firuzbek Golomov, will be leading with Robert.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation. I'm Robert Gafarov. I'm a senior at the British School of Tashkent. I'm trying to develop my art of rhetoric through participating in MUNs, through applying to different universities, and my goal is to become a lawyer in the future.
All right, well, thank you very much, Robert. So without further ado, let's head on over to our little podcast. So, Robert, as you know, the English language is quite diverse. It ranges from, application to its globality, right? So as we know, English is the one language which is applied everywhere in the world. We can see it exponentially going further and further through, let's say the nations, through developing countries, such as our own, Uzbekistan as well. And of course, it is the main language spoken by the United Nations. Well, 1 out of 6, of course. So I wanted to, host a little debate between you and me, all right? So I am an IELTS 8.5 holder, therefore I'll be leading with one part of the coin, which will be IELTS. What is it used for in English? And you will be talking about English the language, or academic English, and how to use it around the world, right? So we're going to be reviewing how is IELTS helping you, the viewers, and of course me, the speaker, to know English better, okay? And you, Robert, will be telling the viewers and me your personal point of view on the matter of academic English and how it's helping you with your spoken word, per se, and the viewers with the implementation of their speeches. All right, so let's move on. So I will be commencing. Now, IELTS is, at the end of the day, an international exam that tests your proficiency and knowledge of the English language. Now, personally, I believe that IELTS helps you with 4 different things: with your speaking, with your listening, with your writing, and with your reading. Now, let's get a little further. Let's dive deep into IELTS at its core. Now, I personally believe that there are different factors that attribute to you knowing English better. Because, well, first and foremost, English is a language, and similar to any other language, you have to learn it. You have to learn the fundamentals. You have to learn the grammar. You have to learn, well, moving forward, your speech, how to enunciate and how to pronunciate these different words, which are sometimes, extra spicy per se, and a little more difficult to pronounce. Now, Robert, I want you to give me your opinion on academic English.
Well, you see, I feel like in the modern world, the value of IELTS is a bit overestimated, as people with the same IELTS score may have completely different levels of English in the normal life, especially in the academic life. I'm a student of English AS level, so I can see that by myself, as My IELTS work is barely anything compared to what we do in the English AS level. So what I think is that in academic English, the proficiency of English required is much higher. It cannot be compared to the English vocabulary you're using in IELTS. And developing the other side of your knowledge in English is extremely important for a person to be proficient in universities, for an individual to have success in universities, to have high grades, as one might believe that since he has a high IELTS score, he's gonna have no problem in the future with his job, with his studies. However, I believe that not to be the case, and I think that even after getting the high IELTS score, one should still continue developing his skills.
Exactly, I agree. But just for the sake of debate, let me give a simple counter argument to the statement, right? So, just to have this a little more excitement in us. Now, as you know, when you're studying and preparing for the IELTS exam, right, you are ameliorating, essentially building up your vocabulary, essentially helping your speech, because every single day you're probably talking to your friends, to yourself in the mirror, to anything in English, right? So you're building up your English knowledge, the fundamental aspects of English, which is going to further help you in your academic life, in your career, in the future prospects that you have. This all stems from IELTS. Because look, let's say that we didn't have the IELTS exam, right? Well, just imagine a dark, cruel world where the IELTS exam does not exist. Canonically speaking, it would be extremely difficult to have the youth persevere and adapt into the world of English, right? They would just sit there in their own little shell. Like, guys, you see the viewers back home. Would you really want to learn English if not for the IELTS exam, which is going to help you go abroad? Like, if we never had the IELTS exam, right, we would not be furthering our academic English. We would not be further developing our skills of speech. And of course, we would never have learned grammar.
Well, you see, I believe that IELTS is a great system for learning English. So it has the 4 fundamentals, which are listening, reading, writing, and speaking, obviously. And I feel like it is not necessarily the service itself it provides, since if IELTS never existed, there would have been other services that would help people go abroad. However, the IELTS as a system itself helps the youth develop their English in a proficient manner.
Yeah.
However, in that topic, I believe that each of the spheres of IELTS should be discussed separately in that regard. As for example, listening, one might develop his IELTS listening to level 9. However, going abroad, the accents are absolutely different and maybe indistinguishable from what you heard in your IELTS tests. And again, coming back to the same argument, you getting a high score on IELTS listening does not mean that you're necessarily proficient in the modern world.
Of course, I can understand that point of view, which is very interesting. Now, of course, we have to remember, right? Every single student that is inevitably going through the motions, learning IELTS, learning listening, learning speaking, what be it. It doesn't necessarily matter how exactly they're going to be learning it. As long as they perpetuate themselves in, as you said, the modern world, in order to be exposed to more languages, to more accents, to more dialects. That's exactly what we need. Exactly, listening, right? Right now we have the viewers, right? They're listening to us. Now, I'm mainly speaking in an American accent, and you're also speaking in a manner of an American accent. So, of course, people are more accustomed to hearing either the typical English/British accent or the American accent. Personally, I love the American one. Do you love the American accent?
I despise the English accent because it makes my jaw hurt.
Oh yeah. Viewers, just imagine you talk 24/7 and you're talking like this with an English-British accent. You don't even pronounce the T, right?
Right? You see, when you're using British accent, much more muscles in your mouth are used, literally.
No. Yeah, I've seen the study.
Americans that try British accent, they always say, like Tom Holland, he said, "It is impossible to speak an English accent. My jaw cannot handle this."
Yeah, exactly. Right? So now moving back to what has already been stated, right? Our little debate. So again, learning English, right? it comes down to how exactly you maneuver your time, how exactly you're learning English, how exactly you're allocating your intellectual facilities towards the English language, right? So if you're only focusing mainly on just this one aspect of listening, focusing on IELTS listening, right? Doing hundreds of practices, doing 20, 30 practices a day, not coming out of your room, sitting there and only listening to that Joe Rogan podcast, right? Just listen to one thing. Of course, you're not going to be as adapted towards different dialects and different accents if you're going to be moving abroad. However, at the end of the day, you are still exposing yourself to English. You're going out of your comfort zone, right? You're going out of your comfort zone and making sure that you can at the very least, understand what is being currently said. Now, in English, this is very important, right? Why? Let me elaborate. So, let's say that you just started learning Chinese, right? Let's say that you just started learning Chinese, and you moved to China straight away. And all you've been doing before that is just, listening to little Chinese tidbits, right? Having their translations, what be it. And when you move to China, you hear everybody speaking so fast. They have word after word after word, and your brain cannot physically adapt to understand so much information, being said at the same time. However, if you were to, with the example of the IELTS exam, if you were to listen to Chinese podcasts every single day, 20 to 30 times a day, right, and listen to one podcast, it doesn't matter who it's from, right, be it us or Joe Rogan, right, you would still have that brain function. Your brain would be more adapted towards, understanding English. Rather than learning the theories or rather than applying yourself in academic English itself.
Quite frankly, thank you very much. You presented my argument in a different manner. As what I believe is that, again, for listening, you shouldn't just focus on going through IELTS past papers. You shouldn't just do IELTS listening 24/7 as, first of all, you're going to get bored. Second of all, as I've mentioned before, that is not necessarily how English is spoken in the modern world. Nowadays, different places have different accents, etc. So, I do agree with you that if a person is getting different English sources in, so not just the IELTS test, but actually getting all of the information in from American English, Indian English, British English, getting those accents in, understanding the people, sharing their culture to some extent, I would say even, I believe that it is the best way for learning English in the first place, as it actually develops your academic level and academic understanding of the world and of the English language. And going back to the example with the Chinese, if you just prepare for the Chinese exam, yes, you will not be ready. But again, as you've mentioned, if you develop your English from all sides, which means that you read Chinese books, you don't just develop Chinese reading, you read actual Chinese books. You listen to Chinese people speak on a podcast. That is going to actually develop your IELTS level and your Chinese IELTS proficiency.
All right, exactly. And I had just one more question. As we know that in any language we have, what do we have? We have, if I'm not mistaken, we have speaking, we have listening, we have reading, and we also have writing. And one more question. What exactly do we have in IELTS? The one exam used globally to learn the English language, we have listening, we have speaking, we have reading, we also have writing. Now, of course, I like the way that you're using my words in order to point out the fact that, of course, yes, I can agree with you, right? Unequivocally agree that learning English from all the aspects is a mandatory part of being a native speaker, of being proficient in the language, and of course, understanding the language. However, I personally believe that IELTS, the exam itself, it's not only boosting your IELTS level on unfathomably, unimaginably, congruent levels, it's also eventually going to help you get that key towards success. That golden key is your band score, right? So the second you get, let's say, how much? 7.5, right? Let's say you get a 7.5. First and foremost, that's telling us, right? Let's say we're the examiners. That's going to be telling us that this person has a working understanding of the English language. What else is it going to tell, let's say, the college board, let's say the enrollment committee, what be it, right? It's going to tell them that this person has his level, which is advanced enough for him to be able to study in America or Europe or other places in Asia, right? It's going to be the golden key for absolute and utter English exposure. Now, what else can I say about just the exam in and of itself, right? This is probably going to be our last statements, right? So this was extremely fun. I was very happy for this first episode to be such a ravishing topic, such as IELTS English versus academic English. But however, my last words would still definitely be that me as a native speaker, where I was born and raised in the Netherlands, and when I came back to Uzbekistan, my English level was not nearly as good as it is today. Why did it? I knew how to speak, right? I knew how to speak and I knew how to read. I had 2 parts down. I had no idea how to write an essay, and I had no idea how to listen to key terminology when listening, right? Okay, I understood what they said when they were speaking in front of me in English, right? But still, in a more academically inclined environment, I still did not know how to transcribe these different words that were given to me correctly and formally, right? So IELTS inevitably boosted even a native speaker, me, right, up to this really, really good IELTS level, where after the probably hundreds, maybe 200 or 300 listening practices later, I was finally able to understand and to congruently speak in English. I can now clearly state that I am most definitely proficient in the language.
Well, as I've mentioned before, IELTS most certainly develops your skills, but what I believe to be the key skill that it helps students develop is confidence in English proficiency, and is confidence in using the English language in their lives. I feel like many people struggle. They're afraid to be considered silly. They're afraid that their accent is not quite good enough.
Yeah.
So therefore they stay away from speaking to native speakers. They stay away from texting in English, as they don't necessarily understand if their English skills are good enough. So what I most certainly believe is that IELTS 100% helps you understand that you are good enough for the English-speaking society, that you can be happy and developing in that English-speaking society. Nevertheless, IELTS is not the top ground. Regardless of your score, you should keep working further, keep developing your skills. And the fact that you can't speak English also means that you should work even harder to make it even better. And another factor that I believe is extremely important is, again, IELTS people that passed IELTS with the same results might not know English the exact same. As an example, I could actually give myself as I actually passed my IELTS exam yesterday, quite surprisingly, or the day before yesterday.
2 days ago, yeah.
Yeah, so my results should be tomorrow or the day after tomorrow.
Well, was it computer-based or?
It was computer-based, yes.
Yeah, me as well. Of course, computer-based is superior.
My results are probably going to be on the screen right now. Let's hope it's above 8. So I'm aiming for 8.5, probably going to be an 8. However, when looking at other people that got their exam as an 8, for example, my teacher in my previous in my public school, she also had the IELTS 8. Yet I do frankly believe that her English level is way beyond mine. She's had practice for 40 years. She's had academic English practice for those 40, 50 years. She's been teaching English. And her English is way above mine. Her language skills, her writing skills. And again, keep learning, keep developing your skills, and most definitely prepare for IELTS. That is going to make your life better. You're going to be more confident in your skills, and the universities are going to be more confident that you are good at those skills.
Well, thank you very much, Robert. That was extremely impressive. We were in this episode, right? We were able to indiscriminately discuss the different virtues of IELTS, of academic English, and I truly hope, I actually believe that most of our viewers were able to, get some more advice for their vocabulary, right? Because we were using some advanced words, for their listening, because, we're both basically native speakers, and it's very interesting, and we would personally also recommend to keep on listening to different podcasts, or our podcast, to listen to music, to watch videos, right? So, Netflix, be it, or YouTube. However, I digress. Thank you guys very much for watching our very first podcast episode. We truly hope that you enjoyed it. Leave a like, comment down below what you guys thought of it. Comment down below your thoughts and ideas about, academic English versus IELTS English. We would be very excited to hear out your opinions. And that's it for today. Ciao for now.